introduction of the members of the Presidential Working Party to our chair, Professor Raphael Munavu, and I just want to welcome him to the podium so that he takes us through the introduction of the Presidential Working Party on education reforms. Prof, karibu.
It is my honor to introduce members of the Presidential Working Party on educational reform. And what I will do is I will just call the name, then you stand and you wave and you smile at the same time. David Some, Prof. Thank you very much for your smile. Halima Saadu Abdullahi. Apology. Siaraka Gitonga. Purity Babu. Edward Katue Nzinga. Virginia Wahome. Robert Juma Wamalwa. Thank you. Charles Chalo Mutinda. Gitahi Kiama. Professor. Very good, thank you. Anthony Cheroyot, CTNA. Bishop Geoffrey Waweru Gichoki. Aha, very good, asante. Selin Chepngeno Rono. Asante. Laila Abubakar. VC Tom. Very good. Welcome on board. Daniel Otieno Randa. John Kamati Munywa. Paul Wainaina, Prof. Asante sana. Kasanga Mudeu. Margaret Chege. James Kanya. James Kanya is there. Salome Eyangani. Thank you. Winston Akala. Peter Mokaya Tambichi. Mwalimu. Ako wapi? Ah, okay. Asante. James Kimiti. James Kimiti. Okay. You better note that. Jen Kimiti. Sorry. Kizito Wangalwa. Kizito Wangalwa. Augusta Mwihaki Muthigani. Asante sana. Peter Barasa, Prof. Ahmed Yusuf. John Mose. Asante. John Mose you're with Treasury, isn't it? Watu wa pesa. Kwa mfuko. Hassan Mwakimako. Asante. Lynette Mwende Ndile. Wilson Kogo. Stephen Mbugwa Gari. Prof. Asante. Paul Lilan. Richard Gidinji. Collins Odote. Thank you. Jen Imbunya. Asante. Jacinta Ngure. Jacinta? Apology? Jerono P. Rotich. Daktari Rotich. Jerono P. Rotich, Daktari. Subira Neema. Thank you. Bernard Kariuki Joroge. Amefika, asante. Peter Njenga Keyoro. Asante sana. That is the team. Those are members of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. And the party really is supported by very, very efficient and strong secretariat, which includes Abdi, Patita Tingoi, Patita Uko, very good. David Jegere from NEC. Jackson Toh, Prof, thank you. Ruben Tamburi Muguku, Tamburi, thank you. Richard Miano, learned friend Miano, thank you very much. And Eunice Gachoka. Asante sana. That is the team that really we are here today to recognize and to basically launch as they begin their journey today. Asante sana. That is just for introductions. Asante.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate the chair again. Asante sana. Thank you, Chair, for your leadership and the direction you're giving us, even at the Secretariat. Your Excellency, we are gathered here on this specific task of ensuring we provide direction to our country and to our future generation. And looking at the program, there's a small presentation on the education journey of Kenya. Because you can only know where you are going if you reflect on your at least past. And so I and Professor Toh from the Commission of University Education, from the Joint Secretariat, will just briefly, very briefly present something on the journey where we have come from so far. Your Excellency, our country generally, before independence, a commission led by Professor Ominde was formed to look at education holistically for all those living within the borders of this country. And the main task that confronted that commission, Your Excellency, was to come up with education that's fit for purpose at that time. To, in other words, get education that can unite the people, that can train people who will take up positions, the whites who are, clear and living, and so on. So that was the main objective at that time. And that was in 1964. The Commission proposed an education system that would foster national unity. And since then, they came up with the goals of education. To date, Your Excellency, we're using the same goals. We have not changed much. There are 8 in total. They're here. The first goal being foster nationalism, patriotism, and promote national unity. That is the objective of education in this country. And that's why all of us gathered here. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different counties here. But we meet here at the national level. We will not have met had we not gone to school. Maybe somebody like me will be looking after a few camels in northern Kenya. A few of you will be tilling land. Others will be somewhere like Victoria, doing some fishing. If we had not gone to school, what brings us together is that education. So the goals are the same. And even today, with this CPC we're talking about, with this new reform we are talking about, commission after commission, task force after task force, we still found these goals relevant. And even with the current change that we are naming every commission or task force after the chair. And even as we meet here, members, when the work of this, Presidential Working Party will be taught in our schools of education, it will be called what? 63 there, somebody with primary education could get a job. But after some time, they found out that jobs are not there for primary education leavers. And all of our communities came together. We came up with the Harambee schools. You remember the Harambee schools? People of my age and so on, the Harambee schools came up. Because Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education. And the Gachadi Commission, what happened was that all the Harambee secondary schools put up by communities were taken on board and they became government schools, what we are calling assisted schools in the previous act. And so, 1981 again, we had the McKay. In the history of this country, we had only 2 presidential working parties. This one becomes the 3rd. We had the Kamunge in 1988, and we had Professor Mageuzi here, who are tasked to see how we can realign the education sector to the new constitution. And basically, they came up with eight recommendations. Recommendation number 1 was to develop a new education sector and came up with a capitation of 1,020 shillings per child. Since 2003, Your Excellency. At the moment, we came up with, fees, a cap to fees, such that our national schools in the past, they were charging exorbitantly. Now they're charging 53,000 in form of boarding costs, 40,000 for the county schools, and so on. So the other main recommendation on Odiamba was to enhance, education among vulnerable, disadvantaged, and hard-to-reach groups. Set up a national qualification framework. Now we have the Kenya National Qualification Framework and so on. Then improve quality and standards at all levels of education and training. And emphasis on relevance of skills, integrate science, technology, and innovation, and then reform the governance to education. And sir, that is it. And this now led to what now we are calling, this is the structure now that we have under the CPC, where we have the structure that we have is 2 years pre-primary, 3 years lower primary, 3 years upper primary, 3 years lower secondary, junior, and then from there, the pathways. Because under the CPC, we want to nurture every child's potential. So after junior, having exposed them to wide curriculum, every child will now pursue that. And we have not also forgotten those that have special needs. We do an analysis for those that have special needs. Identification at the Education Assessment Resource Centers, they are placed. Special needs does not mean only children who are physically, have physical disability. We have children who are also enriched, these ones that are, the gifted and the talented children also fall under special needs. Your Excellency, at the moment, this sector, this is the situation, the silent features of the basic education sector. Free and compulsory education, this is what we are giving every child. Free secondary education, that is what we're 100% transition. And as we move forward, this 100% transition was good, but it has led also to challenges in form of congestion and all that. We have harmonized all the one-to-one book ratio that we do and all that. So currently, this is the situation. So sir, I just want to say something about this curriculum now we are looking at, the CPC. It aims at nurturing every learner's potential, the curriculum that aims to build on learners' competencies rather than just mere knowing. It provides pathways because we are nurturing every child's potential in terms of that. So generally, this is, for us to achieve learning outcomes, the teachers play a role. The learners are on the other side, the school management, the school input. This is what we are putting across. And sir, as at now, when it comes to the basic education, these are the figures. Primary schools, we have 23,000 in this country. The enrollment, 8.9 million. Secondary schools, almost 9,000 secondary schools with an enrollment of 3.6 million. That is the status as at now. And this is our secondary school enrollment per class, per form and all that. So the status is what I was just trying to give. But we have other challenges, for example, and this task force will be looking at that. In our, education is devolved. We have the primary, pre-primary now is with the counties, and primary education is with the national government. But again, this is what we'll be chairing in terms of all this. So at this point, sir, I just want to call upon Professor To to take us through the recent reforms in university education. Professor To.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, members of the task force, all protocol observed. Good morning. I will just highlight issues in the university education, and I'm beginning from the Universities Act that came into operation in 2012. This marked the watershed of the sector in the sense that prior to this period, there was no common legal framework for the university sector. The chair that was in existence was only regulating the private universities. But with the coming of the Universities Act number 42 of 2012, all the universities came under one roof and under one same legal framework. Allow me to just highlight the objectives of the university. I will not belabor, but allow me to just say that one of the critical objectives of the university is to advance knowledge and to teach through scholarly teaching, research, and scientific investigation, and to disseminate that information to the various stakeholders and users, and to also foster the capacity for independent and critical thinking, which is in line with the CBC, and to promote quality standards and support the national economic and social development. Allow me to highlight some of the salient features in this sector. Your Excellency, currently over the last 20 years, the universities have expanded very rapidly. At present, we have 78 universities which have been accredited and allowed to operate in the country. Out of 78, 36 are public universities, including those that were recently given the charter, and 25 are private. 9 are constituent. Out of that 9, 3 are from the private university. Actually, they are from QA, the Catholic University, the 3 of them. The other 6 are the constituent of the public universities. And we have 8 that are operating under the LEA, Letters of Interim Authority. Currently, we have over 500,000 students who are enrolled in the university in different programs that the universities offer. Another highlight is that we have over 4,000 academic programs currently on offer in the universities in the different disciplines. At one time, there were over 5,000, but through reforms and amendments, the universities have removed some programs, and others are no longer have been merged and reviewed accordingly. The staff complement, or academic staff complement, are about 20,000 in the different ranks from TF, assistant lecturer, to senior lecturer, associate professor, and professor. They are all about 20,000. But the majority of the academic staff in the university are at the level of lecturer, TF, and assistant lecturer. So you can figure out how the situation is at the university in terms of the academic staff, that the majority of them are at the level of lecturer and below. The senior, the associate professors and professors. And I want to say that as of now, the CBC rollout, as you are aware, are in grade 6 and are due for assessment this year in November. The grade 6 class will be assessed and be prepared to transit to junior secondary next year. And so part of our task here will be to figure out how this transition will move on seamlessly. The other issue that we must think through is that in the next 6 years or so, this pioneer class will be transiting to the university in 2029. So we have a window of 6 years to 7 years to review the curriculum, to train and empower and build the capacity of the academic staff to be able to deliver this CBC. How prepared are we? And the successful implementation of CBC lies upon you. Now, what are the issues that we must ponder? The issues are about 6. The issues that you have as a task force is to conceptualize and interrogate the CBC framework and juxtapose it with the programs currently on offer to see which areas need to be tweaked, which areas need to be amended, and you make recommendations so that we're able to harmonize and make the transition to be very smooth. So we have to think through that. The other issue is admission criteria. That given that the CBC has its own vision and mission, we have to align the transition to the criteria for admission. The standards and guidelines must also be reviewed, and this we will work at the commission together with you to review the guidelines. The others I think I have mentioned is the issue of academic programs, the need to retool the faculty, and of course to ensure that the implementation of the curriculum is seamless. I think with those few remarks, Your Excellency, I put my case there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have UNESCO, we have bilateral organizations like USAID, the World Bank is here. Any other that I've forgotten? That is all, those who have just joined us. Thank you very much. Please let's appreciate them. We work with them very closely. Asanteni sana. Your Excellency, I would now like to hand over the rest of the program to the Chair, Professor Raphael Munavu. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Achagua, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor Magoha, and the incoming CS Ezekiel Machogu, the Chief Administrative Secretaries for Education, the Principal Secretaries from the Ministry of Education who are here with us, members of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, to today's ceremony, a very formal ceremony, because it's during this ceremony that the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms will be appointed, which was appointed by His Excellency the President on 30th September this year, will be formally commencing its work. It's a very special day because we have met as a working party for the first time today. So I think it's a very special day for us. On behalf of the members of the working party, I would like to sincerely convey our thanks to His Excellency the President for his well-articulated vision for education sector in our country, in Kenya. And as a team, we note with gratitude and humility the confidence which His Excellency the President has in members of the working party. The appointment of the working party comes at a time when the new government has begun to fulfill the commitments it undertook to deliver to the citizens of this country. The education sector, in particular, like most other sectors, it's confronted by a host of challenges. But we should never forget that the challenges are there, but also that we have made substantial progress in the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be aware that the education sector was greatly impacted by, among others, the COVID-19 pandemic. This led to extended closures of learning institutions in all areas. It deepened existing inequalities, especially with regard to access and learning outcomes, but it also increased the strain, especially at the primary and secondary level, on households and families to provide for their children's schooling needs. The Working Party has been appointed at a time when the country anticipates a transition of the pioneer cohort of learners under the competence-based curriculum, as well as preparation of national examinations for transition from primary to secondary education and from secondary to tertiary level, TVETs and universities. Your Excellency, the Working Party has been tasked with a major responsibility. Going by the scope of the terms of reference, which were gazetted on 30th of September, most of these responsibilities cover aspects of curriculum implementation, access to quality education, education financing, governance, teacher preparations, and so on, among others. On behalf of the Working Party, I wish to give our commitment to His Excellency the President and the public in this country that we have taken time to internalize and digest the terms of reference, and we are cognizant of the expectations within the 6-month period of our assignment. 6 months we have to deliver. We assure you that the Working Party is fully committed to deliver on their assignment, and we will do that through open public participation, focused stakeholder engagement and consultations, and most important also, continuous engagements with experts in the education sector. To my distinguished colleagues in the Presidential Working Party, we have been called upon to collectively and individually invest our emotional and intellectual capacity to deliver on this very major assignment. This noble task of serving the country through the Working Party calls for sacrifice of our time and commitment, especially with respect to the time constraints that we have been given. Let me call upon you and upon us, all of us, that we should approach this task with open mind. We should have listening ear. We should have empathy in our hearts as we engage the public and the stakeholders of diverse backgrounds, so that whatever recommendations we deliver will be jointly and collectively owned by all parties. I also challenge ourselves as a team to remain objective in the course of our work, and let us uphold honesty, integrity, confidentiality as we discharge our responsibility under this assignment, because it's a major assignment. Our appointment comes at a time when the country is implementing competence-based curriculum. Consequently, we should benefit from the findings of previous presidential working commissions, task forces, and so on, which Abdi has taken us through. So we are not beginning from zero. There is data, there is information, there is evidence that is available, which as a team we can begin with. We will therefore need to consult the reports of the previous teams, as well as any policy papers and reports by various agencies in the sector. And allow me really to call upon the respective agencies that are represented here in the ministry, the chairman of the boards and so on, and CEOs, for their full support and to enable the working party deliver on its mandate within the given time. So we will approach you, and really ours is to request you please to engage with us, supply whatever that information that we need so that we can deliver within the time. Your Excellency, in the coming days, we will issue a call for public views, and we will also share a stakeholder and to vigorously engage stakeholders and the key players and experts within all the 47 counties. This is so that we can collect the views of all stakeholders, but most important, members of the public. We look forward to receiving open and honest feedback from the public and all education stakeholders in forms of direct engagement, in terms of memoranda and town hall meetings, so that we really craft a way forward for the education sector in our country. Let me conclude my remarks by thanking His Excellency, the President, for entrusting us with this noble task of supporting him with regard to strategies through public consultations, because then this will enable him to deliver his transformative agenda in the education sector, because it is education that drives all the other sectors of the national economy. Any country that is fully developed and has high human development index today, really that ranking is measured and determined by the level and quality of education within that country. So this is extremely important for us. Your Excellency, we look forward to continued support and guidance from yourselves. We will be available at your call anytime to give the necessary briefs to you and to His Excellency the President as we move forward, because I think that engagement is extremely important. I would like to thank you and to wish God's blessings upon all of you. It is now my pleasure, very distinguished and very humble duty, to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Education to come and make his remarks.
When I was a firebrand senior lecturer, and he proceeded on to become Vice Chancellor Moi University, and I also proceeded on to become the Vice Chancellor of University of Nairobi for 10 years. So we have many things in common, and therefore the President's wisdom for appointing Professor Munavu to chair this task force is thoroughly lauded by the Ministry of Education. The reason is this: when you are doing an experiment, you don't start doing an experiment whose answer you already know. And I want to charge, the second charge I'm charging the members of the task force, because I know that they are eminent scholars and stakeholders. In order to assist His Excellency the President in doing what he has to do, more specifically with the basic education sector, can we go into the unknown, get results, analyze them, and take them to him? Don't start from an answered point of view where now you are working from what you want to bring to him. You shall not have helped him. And I'm doing this with all humility, having been a scientist who is very well published over the years and who is going back to academia. Ladies and gentlemen, the third thing I want to say about President William Samoei, President William, you can understand why, because the other one was there for 24 years. William Samoei Arap Ruto. The short time I have worked with him and my assessment of him without prejudice is that he is somebody who listens and takes views, including those he didn't want to hear. And I'm telling you this here because I'm a very strange person. I add no political value to anybody. I am a thoroughbred technocrat. My value is in service and profession. So I'm free to talk the way I talk, because I have no political value to add. I only add the work and the efficiency and the delivery. So since the president is somebody who is going to, and he's also an academic. I was involved with him when he was doing his master's degree, and he went further and did PhD. So we are not writing a report to somebody who went to Kanyanyaini Primary School. So I would like to encourage you to use your intellectual power, because the brain power, Your Excellency, Deputy President, the brain, if you want your brain to sleep, it will sleep. If you want your brain to think so that you can add value to our children, then you will think. So I'm hoping that I don't want to pronounce myself more than that in the basic education sector, because my sentiments are known, and it is not my intention to repeat them here. But allow me, Your Excellency, to say one or two things about the university sector, which is the sick child in the room. Having been a minister for now 3.5 years, I have found out that since the government was not reorganized, it is still one minister, the basic education sector takes 85% of the time. And therefore, university and TVET share the remaining 15%. And that has allowed all Kamaus and Onyangos to be experts in university matters, even people who don't know anything about universities. So my third charge to this committee is to look at universities without prejudice. Remove the politician, remove the fake experts, because you cannot be an expert if you don't belong to the university system. What is it that is ailing our country? What do we want to remember President Ruto for as far as the university sector is concerned? And I can talk with full authority because this is where my strength is. We have people asking for universities to be created for political reasons, people who don't even know what a university is. If you go to the Oxfords of this world, a single university with 38 colleges. Are we together? Single university with 38 colleges. I think His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto has given you the opportunity as the technocrats to pronounce yourself on this matter. I want to see whether you are bold enough, because the universities are dying because they are underfunded and they are thoroughly fragmented. They are dying because they are underfunded and they are thoroughly fragmented. The only university that I know is the University of Nairobi, and my Vice Chancellor is here, Professor Gitai Kiama. Thank you very much. The others are also trying to get there. But do we then pull down the University of Nairobi and Moi University to another level to be the same as Kanyanyaini University, where I come from? So if you are bold enough, you might give His Excellency the President good enough advice. If you are politically correct, you will just be a statistic. And I think it's good for me to say so, Professor Munavu, because you are a university person, but I don't know whether you are still bold enough. Because what the President wants, as I end, Your Excellency, I have always believed when I was the Vice Chancellor, that my best advisors were the ones who told me things I didn't want to hear. So when I'm sleeping and I wake up at 4 o'clock and I reflect, then I find that is the way I'm going to go. When people tell you, yes, sir, this is those are stupid idiots, because when the brain is thinking, then you must differ, isn't it? As intellectuals, you must differ. So I think the President has given you an opportunity to reform the university sector. A lot of investment, finally, Your Excellency, has been put in the TVET sector. The last charge as an outgoing minister to this committee, what are you going to do in order to change the mindset of our people? That success is not by going to the university. What are you going to do? What recommendations are you going to give to government to actualize what they already started anyway, because they expanded the sector and they are giving help loans to the sector, and you are taking me to an area I didn't want to mention, but let me just say that I hope you are not even thinking of combining University Funding Board with help, because help goes beyond universities. We should be intelligent enough to know that what government should be doing eventually is providing Kamau and Njoroge from Kanyanyaini with the 20 shillings. And Kamau and Njoroge will then say, no, I am going to this university. And we make sure that the Kamau has gone to that university. Because government has already started funding the TVETs with help money. So help is already bigger than universities. Are we together here? That's a personal opinion which you can take to the toilet, but it's coming from a professor who has run the university successfully for 10 years, and my footprints are there, whether you like it or not, starting with that 22-story tower. So I want to wish you the very best, and to say that for the period that I'm here, because it's like the President has allowed us to work for another 2 months, and we want to thank him, because we have already finished another month that it looks like we shall be here till the end of the month. For that period, we are still the CS, and we work together. And if there is any help that you require, because there is never a vacuum in government. Are we together? Your Excellency, it is now my most singular duty, and I also like the way you work, because somehow we are a bit like the same. Because you just say what you want to say, and everything follows.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. The Chair, Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, Professor Raphael Munavu, members of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, our Cabinet Secretary for Education, the Principal Secretaries, Ministry of Education, Senior Ministry of Education officials, our development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege, and professionals, high achievers, impactful citizens and public servants with substantial track records in matters to do with education, training, and skills development. Congratulations on your appointment to serve on this working group, and thank you for making yourselves available for national duty at this time when this country and its millions of learners need you most. The terms of reference set out in the presidential instrument that created this team are clear and precise. Kenya Gazette notice 11920 of 29 September 2022 makes it clear that the task before you is monumental and that your work shall go a long way in providing clarity on the many issues that have persistently plagued our education sector, obstructing the nation from commitment to educate and empower its citizens effectively, efficiently, and in a sustainable manner. We are confident that you possess, individually and collectively, the requisite capacity to deliver and make lasting contribution to the sustainable development of this nation through a fit-for-purpose, responsive, relevant education that reflects our unique identity and culture as well as our aspirations. Many stakeholders have expressed concern that they may have been left out in the constitution of this working group. I believe that one of your most urgent tasks is to set a strong signal that your operations and practices shall demonstrate inclusivity, public participation, stakeholder engagement by endeavoring to listen to every voice and, wherever possible, enlist necessary assistance to ensure that your objectives are realized. There is no doubt that as a nation, we are united by seriousness about who we are and who we aspire to be. It is critical that we are able to provide assurance that the means and aids of education are aligned with the national intent as expressed in our administration's plan, National Development Roadmap, as well as efficiencies, holding us back from the promise of a more robust performance. From early childhood education all the way to university, we must forge a path that coordinates the players in the subsectors and reconcile the workings of the subsectors to produce a coherent framework for education system governance in order to align it with broader national aspirations. The rule of law, good governance, global competitiveness, economic growth, national stability, and culture depend on a sound educational system focused on the full expression of its citizens' capabilities. Kenya's commitment to the provision of quality education is demonstrable. We invest 5.7% of our GDP, or 28% of the national budget, in education. This is significantly above both the global and the sub-Saharan average, and actually compares favorably with the international benchmarks. The big issue we have to resolve relates to quality and equity in general, and especially as it relates to access in arid and semi-arid regions, informal settlements, and areas affected by high incidence of poverty. Indeed, obstacles to schools participation in these communities not only undermine our achievements in promoting access through the free primary education and free day secondary education program, that to a large extent affect children from disadvantaged and vulnerable backgrounds, compounding the social justice problem. This can be seen in the fact that over the past 10 years, survival rates in primary and secondary schools have dropped, and as a result, many school-age children are out of school. We therefore look forward to recommendations that will enable us formulate aggressive affirmative measures to urgently bridge the gap in access to education in disadvantaged counties and communities. Our administration is committed to the domestication of teacher recruitment and deployment at entry level, in keeping with the best practices set out UNESCO teacher deployment practice. Connected to this is the urgent need to manage challenges resulting from teacher delocalization. Accordingly, we have committed to replace the delocalization policy with a nationalization program that offers incentives for those teachers who choose to serve outside their local communities and emphasizes productivity. Our plan also commits us to invest in a minimum essential package of capacities and facilities in primary and secondary schools. The aim is to assure consistent access to basic services. It also cushions those schools with low enrollment and enables them meet school operational fixed costs. As you may be aware, A vibrant technical and vocational education and training system lies at the core of our bottom-up model. Our commitment is to expand and equip TVET institutions across the country to be able to absorb more than 500,000 youths who graduate from basic education institutions annually. To unlock the immense benefits associated with this endeavor, the operational policy and legal framework across the entire education and training sector must be rationalized. We therefore look forward to receiving and implementing your clear recommendations for the overdue appropriate review. Indeed, coherence in the policy framework is indispensable for our educational system to support rapid socio-economic transformation. Over the years, numerous legal and regulatory apparatus have been established to deliver various mandates within the sector. As a result, many institutions often perform similar roles, render identical services, or address the same issues, sometimes without consultation or coordination, resulting in unnecessary competition, conflict, and wastage of scarce resources. Your recommendations on the synchronization of TVET training to maximize synergies and coherently deliver on important national priorities are much anticipated. The competence-based education and training curriculum is intended to resolve the skills mismatch that exists between the training system and the labor market. It establishes guidelines for the implementation of an industry and business-led TVET model, which strictly enforces industry-validated occupational standards under the TVET Act. To guarantee consistent output of competitive, skilled workforce, we urge you to establish an effective linkage between the competence-based curriculum, CBC, and the competence-based education and training, CBET, and recommend modalities of which university academic programs can be reviewed for better alignment with the labor market demand. The prevailing education and training system majorly consists of silos whereby programs are irreconcilably different with one institution and the next. As a result, education is cumbersome and expensive, denying learners the flexibility and mobility that work and life often demands, and forcing them to make suboptimal choices. Ladies and gentlemen, you have an opportunity to explore ways of developing and implementing a sound national credit accumulation and transfer framework that applies across the entire education and training system. The university is the apex of knowledge, creation, and dispersal, and thus is essential to sustainable development of any nation. Through research and critical inquiry, the university provides solutions to problems facing society and helps countries anchor development agendas on the sound foundation of knowledge. We need our universities to reposition themselves more powerfully and in the national development agenda by playing a more pronounced role in education. This calls for a review of curricula as well as a structure and mode of delivery. It is time to recalibrate the university curriculum to incorporate more local content with synchronizing it with the aspirations and imperatives of the current era. The demands of industry and concerns of the community must resonate throughout university facilities and reflect its outputs. It is time to deliver a holistic education experience that takes into account that optional intersection of the classroom and the community as learning spaces. This calls for the achievement of the indispensable qualities of transformational education, provision of adequate learning resources, assurance of curricular relevance, balance between theory and practice, engaged faculty with high expectations, and motivated students. In turn, campuses must be enriched with opportunities through robust career services, diverse co-curricular activities, high student engagement, employer involvement, sustainable incubation of innovations. For its part, communities must contribute through internship and service learning opportunities. Modern and emerging teaching techniques must find their way into our lecture rooms, and education must attain the quality that anticipates a stronger value proposition for universities by investing multidisciplinary skills in students. Multi-skill learning and flexibility prepares youth for jobs of the future. In a time when nearly half of the existing careers are going to be extinct and tomorrow jobs are yet unknown, how do universities, nevertheless, prepare young people to remain relevant? That is the question of the day. This question this working group must grapple with. Given our development aspirations, globally competitive universities are now an existential imperative for our country. Exposure beyond our borders and the exchange of ideas on a global scale is therefore unavoidable. Collaborations, linkages, networking, joint consultancies, and community outreach programs must become a regular feature of higher education if we are to have any chance of achieving our goals. Today, Kenya has more than 70 universities. Have we as a nation felt their impact significantly? This is the disconnect that you are invited to dissect and resolve. We are looking for you. We are looking to you for ways positioning Kenya to harvest the array of possibilities with which our rich spectrum education and training institutions is endowed. We call on you especially to liberate the optimal balance between science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and social sciences, because just as men shall not live by bread alone, radical socio-economic transformation shall not be powered by science, technology, engineering, and mathematics alone. We want our highest levels of education and knowledge to stay grounded in our community grassroots and establish their relevance, feasibility, and positive influence. There is an inevitable bottom-up dimension to university impact and vigor, grounded on strong engagements with communities. This is indispensable for courses in the social sciences, agriculture, health, education, and business, among others. Finally, our nation's progress to the next level of development will be powered by achievements in science, in innovation, and technology transfer. Commercialization and patterning of research outputs is key to making it sustainable by anchoring a strong incentive framework in the research agenda. It is therefore urgent for communities, universities, and industries to seamlessly be interlinked. Universities that demonstrate a high index of effective interlinkage will be more competitive and able to unlock the next frontier of sustainability through increased student enrollment and funding. Your terms of reference are self-explanatory. Your capabilities are above reproach. Your commitment is beyond question. It is now your turn to get to work and demonstrate to Kenya what promise lies within reach, waiting to be unlocked through appropriate educational sector reforms. Your recommendations are highly awaited, and none more so than those touching on the CBC, which every household anticipates and which will touch on the future education of more than 8 million learners. This is a heavy mandate you have been called to bear. Nevertheless, we are confident that you are more than equal to the task. The government, led by His Excellency, the President, looks forward to regular briefings on your progress towards your final report, whose contents are eagerly expected. I wish you good luck in this assignment, and may God bless you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, the outgoing CS, we want to thank you for your commitment in assisting to put this team in place. You have expressed patriotism that though you are outgoing, you did not just walk away and say, let other people come and take care of it. And you have been very committed, and you have really assisted in getting this team to get to work. Asante sana. And I want to assure you, we are not in a hurry to get rid of you. Take your time. This is your country, this is your government, and although there will be an incoming CS, I am sure you hold his hand and you are senior citizen who have served this country with distinction. And when need arises and we need your input and advice, I'm sure the President will be able to call upon you to come and help us. I agree we may be similar in many instances in talking our minds. The only difference is that the government you served, you could not talk openly without reprieve. The one I serve is an open government. You say what you must say, and you say the truth as it is. Professor Munavu and your team, the way the outgoing CS has said, tell us the truth, raw as it is, and don't look back. We are not interested in being praised and being told what we want to hear. Please listen to the people of Kenya and come up with a report that reflects what Kenyans want and what they feel, however bitter it is. You know, in the previous administration, all meetings of this level and other levels, all the people who are making contributions belong to a praise and worship team. We are not interested in praise and worship. All of us have praise and worship teams in the churches where we go on Sunday. For the purposes of assisting President William Ruto and the government, those who have been given duties, please be frank and be true, because truth sets everybody free. And you cannot build a country on lies and burying your head in the sand. We must confront the challenges ahead of us, and the only way to confront those challenges is to be truthful and factual. So we are looking upon this team to go around the country, listen to everybody. The Ruto administration believes in continuous engagement to enrich his leadership. President William Ruto is clear that when he has a good idea, he is prepared to listen from anybody, from any Kenyan for a better idea. And his good idea and that better idea from other Kenyans combined will make the best idea for this country. None of us has monopoly of knowledge. Not President William Ruto, not I, not Ezekiel Machogu. Nobody in this country has monopoly of knowledge. It is therefore our management style to have continuous engagement with Kenyans, professionals, businessmen, Kenyans of all walks of life who know one or two things to enrich our thinking so that we can lead this country to prosperity. I want to assure the educational sector players who are here, the professors, the teachers, the education officials, the government of President William Ruto has no intention whatsoever to invite you to help us in our politics. We have no such intention. Just do your work. And your work is to look after our children, to educate them, take care of them, and prepare them for the future. What was happening in the previous administration will not happen for the time we will be in office. Let everybody do what you are good at. Let the teachers teach. Don't invite them to help you in politics. And I want to say, we are aware there are teachers in Kirinyaga and elsewhere who were punished when they refused to sell Project Azimio. That issue will be addressed. Those teachers must be given back their dignity because it is wrong. I want to assure you that you shall get your respect from the President and I and our team. Never will it happen in this country under our leadership when we go to an institution and dress down a teacher or a lecturer in front of students and pupils, as happened to Professor Inaina in Kenyatta University. It will never happen. The teachers of this country, the lecturers, must be given their due respect and dignity. And where there are issues that we need to raise with them, we shall call them in the privacy of our offices and discuss the issues and the challenges, and in a dignified manner come up with a solution. I don't think it is right to lecture, to dress down a teacher in front of his students. It is not right, and that will not happen in our administration. I want to give you that assurance. And therefore, as I wind up, let me also confirm, for the avoidance of doubt, because the Star newspaper, you keep on twisting what we say, so that if you want to twist, you can go ahead and twist. The CBC is not being repealed. What this good team is doing is to look at it, get the views of stakeholders and the people of Kenya to keep and improve what is good and to address challenges of where there could be weaknesses for our children. That is a position. Number two, we had our plan, our manifesto, our educational charter. There are several things that we promised the teachers. The issue of delocalization that has destroyed families. The Ruto administration is for a strong family unit to keep families together, especially more so of those teachers and those Kenyans who are headed to retirement. We want to assist them to prepare for retirement. We'll be engaging with the TSC next week so that the issue of delocalization is dealt with once and for all. And teachers who are taken to places and their families put in an awkward situation, that matter is addressed so that we build strong family ties for a stronger nation. We also made a promise of employing 116,000 teachers in 2 years. We are having an engagement with the TSC and the Ministry of Education next week to roll out a program on how that will be achieved progressively. Of course, in very difficult circumstances. I said during Inauguration Day, and some Kenyans had an issue that I'm too truthful, and I should not be truthful when they are visitors. But truth is truth, whether they are visitors or whether we are locals. I want to reiterate once more, for the avoidance of doubt, we have inherited a dilapidated economy, and we have work to do to turn around the economy of this country. And we'll be calling upon all of you to bear with us because it is not easy. We are having a big challenge in terms of raising funds for government programs because all the money we are collecting from Treasury, all of it is going to service public debts and to pay salaries. And therefore, there are many measures that will be taken to address that situation. But I want to give you hope. Last night, the President and I sat with the KRI for 7 hours. We parted at midnight to agree on how we collect more revenue so that we can collect about 3 trillion shillings by the end of the year to be able to fund our current and development budget. So don't give up. All is not lost. Despite the fact that we have a difficult situation, we are working on it and everybody is coming along. And in the fullness of time, we will turn around the economy of this country. First and foremost, in the first 2 years, God willing, to return Kenya where President Mwai Kibaki left us. And progressively turn around the economy to improve the quality of lives and put money in the pocket of everybody, including teachers and educational stakeholders, so that people can improve their quality of life. So mimi nimeshukuru sana. I'm also a product of good education. So when I'm here, I'm very happy. If I did not go to school, I'm not sure I would be here. I would be in a village somewhere called Wabunyoro. The name doesn't sound very nice, Professor. But that is where I came from. And it is also possible for you to come from an unknown village and go somewhere. Dr. William Ruto was selling chicken. He went to a primary school called Kamagut. He had no shoes. today he is the President of the Republic of Kenya. Yeah? By two things, God's will and good, sound education. So we have a duty as leaders to do everything within our power to give our peoples and our learners a similar environment that we were given by our parents and the government then, so that one day those little children in primary school in standard 2 and 3, one day they can be here as deputy president, they can be state house as president by getting good and quality education. So, Professor Munavu, you have a job to do, and I have requested you kindly invite the members of the National Assembly to come and present. The reason why I recommend that you involve the members of the National Assembly is that collectively they have a budget every year of about 42 billion, and 90% of that money goes to education. So it is important that you bring them on board, seek their views, so that when we implement the reforms that you shall recommend to government, the members of the National Assembly and the National Government Constituency Development Fund is part of that intervention. It is good to bring them on board because they control huge amounts of money meant for the educational sector. And if we have synergy with the members of the National Assembly, that whatever recommendations you are making, they are also part of those recommendations. I have no doubt in my mind they will be very happy because they are very passionate about education to put that 40 billion or so to assist us in whatever recommendations you shall come up with. So I really want to wish you well. Please listen to everybody. This country is a democratic country. Everybody has a right to say what you want. Talk to everyone. Talk to the unions. Talk to KEPSHA. Talk to KESHA. Talk to the teachers in primary schools. Talk to people in ECD. Talk to the private schools. Talk to people in special schools. Talk to anybody who cares to say something about education. And I also ask the people of Kenya, please don't stay at home and criticize the recommendations when they are pronounced, yet you are not available to come and say something. Because the people of Kenya have that problem. They stay at the shopping centers and criticize everything there. You know, and yet when they are called to say something, they don't say. But they are the first ones to criticize anything that has been rolled out. I'm inviting all critics, including the press. We also want to hear your views. Don't just sit on Sunday and write columns criticizing what has been proposed. Prepare a paper as the people of the fourth estate and come to this working party and present what you think can help this country in matters of education. So ile wajuaji yote wanajua mambo ya masomo, hii ndio nafasi yenu, mulete hiyo ujuaji iangaliwe na ifanyiwe kazi. Don't just sit there and criticize everything. Is that not what happens? No, I went to a secondary school called Irori outside my home, and we had Harambe there. And it's only women who are there, like 90%, and myself and a few other men who are feeling very intimidated. All the men, and they are the father of the children who are at the shopping center. And because the loudspeakers were very loud, they were there. So ukitoa 20,000 nasema hapana, hiyo ametoa kidogo, kwa nini haongezi? And them they are at the trading center criticizing every donation, and they are not part of the process. So we want to ask the people of Kenya, please don't be bystanders in this process. Don't wait for the recommendations to be critics. It is time for now. If you have something that you think can help our educational sector, if you have anything you think can be put in the recommendations as our reform process to have a better education system for our children, it is a time for you to come out and say so. Once the system of listening has been shut, you keep quiet forever and don't say anything about it. But you have an opportunity, and I'm sure this team will accord you the opportunity to come and say what you need to say. Kwa hayo mengi, asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki na tunawatakia mema. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now let's all be upstanding. Another hand of applause to His Excellency. And now, Your Excellency, thank you very much. As we remain standing, I will invite the retiree from Kenya National Examination Council, who has said that he has signed a certificate for each and every one of us, Mr. Ahmed.
In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate. Let us pray for the success of this forum. Oh Allah, we thank you for the gift of God. We thank you for the good health that you have given us. We thank you for all the blessings that have enabled us to be here today. We thank you for the new government. We thank you for the peace that has prevailed so far. We thank you for a new president and his deputy who is here today. Oh Allah, make their work easy and give them the wisdom to combat the challenges in this country, which include education. Oh Lord, we pray to you to guide us to success in this momentous task, and grant us the patience and objectivity to listen to the wananchi and all the stakeholders and be objective in our work, so that we can give this country the education that will be best for all. We also ask you and pray to you, the Almighty God, to grant the country the ability to be patient and acceptable, so that the country accepts the recommendations of this working party. Oh God, we pray to the Ministry of Education to guide us through this process. We also pray to you to enable the development partners to assist this country even more. Oh Lord,